Where do you even start when everything in your marriage feels broken? Because by the time most couples find their way into my office, it's never just one problem. It's never just one thing. They've collected this whole laundry list of things, places they've been hurt, reasons that they don't trust each other anymore, intimacy that stopped working the way that it used to, 125 reasons to feel resentful, parenting and family stuff if there's kids involved, feeling disconnected, and somewhere in there is the communication fallout that says we can't even talk about any of this anymore because we don't know how. So they're sitting there looking at this whole pile going, okay, but which fire do we put out first? How do we go about this? And here's the mistake that so many couples make, trying to fix everything at once. Here's the thing. There is no such thing as fixing everything at once. Let me tell you why. You know how you can't walk into your kitchen one morning and decide, okay, today between 8 and noon, I'm going to make 17 completely different dishes. I don't care how good of a cook you are, how big your kitchen is, or how many years of experience you have, or how much joy cooking brings you for that matter. You are not making 17 different dishes in one morning. You are going to have to decide what is it that we're making, and then what are we making first? What are we making second? Right? What comes after that? And you walk through the list one thing at a time until you get to the end. Trying to fix your marriage all at once works the exact same way. And here's how you'll know that this is you. You'll sit down to quote unquote talk, and instead of staying with the thing that was just said, the other person tacks something else onto that because what you said reminds them of the fight that you had 2 weeks ago about something completely unrelated. And then that reminds you of something that happens a month ago in front of your friends that bothered you. And suddenly you're not having a conversation. You're doing the next item, next item, next item, and so on. You keep being late for dinner even though we talked about it. Well, I've asked you 10 times to deal with the bathroom already. Well, what about the dog poop in the backyard that I'm apparently the only one who notices? And on and on and on. It just continues. You are talking about 125 things in 1 hour, and none of them, not one, gets even partially resolved because you never actually stayed with one thing long enough to go through the repair process. It's the cooking thing again, right? You make this dish, we make it all the way through, then we clean the pots and pans, and then you start on the next thing. And you don't only do this when you have allergies in your family, you do it anyway. You just do it. And honestly, it's the yard too. You're either mowing, or you're pulling the dandelions out, or you're spraying for deer. You can't do all of it at the same time. There aren't enough hands on deck. And there aren't enough hands or capacity for 5 or 7 or 10 conversations in your marriage to be happening all at once either. So here's what I actually want you to do. Each of you separately, not at the same table, not in the same conversation. I want you to sit down with a piece of paper each, your journal, pull out whatever you like to write in, and do what I call a brain dump. I learned this from Brooke Castillo, my coach, years ago. Write down everything that feels wrong, everything that you would want resolved if you could just wave a wand and have it dealt with. Some people like to write it out by theme, right? So it's like, here's the money related stuff, here's the communication stuff, here's intimacy, here's the boundary stuff, whatever. Other people will write down the actual incidents, right? Here's what happened at the family reunion 2 years ago, and I'm still kind of upset about it because we never actually cleaned it up. And it keeps coming back up and ruining things during other conversations. Either way is fine. Whichever approach you take is fine. The point is, it cannot happen inside a conversation with each other. It has to land on paper first. Just you, by yourself. You're going to write it out over here. Your spouse is going to write it over here. Once you've both done that, here's the part that actually matters. Slicing it up. Yes, everything in a marriage is connected. If you've only been married for 2 days and a half, you know this is true. Communication affects intimacy. Intimacy affects how you parent together. It's all one big tangled thing because it's your relationship. It's not just a bunch of tiny little separate boxes on the ground. But when we're trying to get to the bottom of something, we can only be working on getting to the bottom of one thing. Not 2, not 10, not 27. 1. So both of you look at your list. If you could only pick 3 things or pick 5, what would they be? Compare your list, compare your top 5, see if anything overlaps, and whatever it is that overlaps or whatever feels most pressing to the both of you, that's where you start. You're cleaning one room at a time. You can't do the living room and the basement and the garage all at once, right? There's just one, or there's just 2 of you. And by the way, if what's on your list has something to do with every time I try to talk to you, you're on the phone, that's its own thing. And I have an entire video about that. You can go watch that once we're done here. And here's something that might surprise you. I don't always start with the biggest problem. I don't even always start with the loudest one, right? The, oh my gosh, this is so chaotic. Sometimes it's the most recent thing, because that's what usually brings the 2 of them in, and it tends to showcase where a lot of the other stuff is hiding underneath. But mostly what I am looking for, what can we tackle? What's something that you can learn to stop doing? Or what's something that you can learn to start doing in its place that's going to get them most traction the fastest, right? Get them the best ROI the quickest. Because when you're overwhelmed, and the overwhelm creates anxiety, so you're anxious on top of it, you're even less able to create movement. So we have to shrink the target, so to speak. The question isn't what's going to make this marriage 100% better by tomorrow night, because that's not how it works, right? It took you years to walk into this place. You're not walking out of there overnight either. The question is, what would make this 5% better or even 1% better? Not all the way, just what would make it better than it is right now. So instead of asking, how do I fix all of this? Ask, where do we want to start? Agree on that answer together, and then have that one conversation about that one thing. And honestly, sometimes the most useful question is just, what's the next right thing that we can do? What's going to give us the best return for the effort if we put it in right now? Is it time sensitive, like school is about to end and you still haven't figured out what the kids are doing all summer, so that becomes the conversation? Or is it the most recent thing that just blew up in your faces and you need to clean it up to make room for anything else first? Or is it the last pain point where you go back and you do the repair? Make sure that you both understand how you got there and what you're each walking away believing, so you know how to do it differently next time. And here's the other thing. These are also just different kinds of conversations. A repair conversation is one thing. A planning conversation is a different thing. A decision-making conversation is different. An act of goodwill conversation. Those are not the same thing. You can't run them the same way. Back to my kitchen thing from the beginning. You can't make pizza the way that you would make corn chowder. Everybody knows this, right? And nobody ever sits us down, for better or worse, and teaches us this. And I'm saying us, including me and my husband. I've been doing this work with my couples for almost 14 years, and my hubby and I were hitting 20 years next week. So between the 2, I'd say I've got a pretty good seat for this. And even so, nobody ever taught either one of us this stuff growing up, right? So if you don't know the difference yet between these kinds of conversations, stick around. That's exactly what's coming up next. Here's your homework. Both of you, separately, do the brain dump exercise. Get it all out on paper, and then come back together. Compare your lists and pick, of all of this here, right? What are the first 3 things that we're actually going to deal with? Agree on the order, and then take them on, one at a time. One conversation, one choice, one repair, one decision, one act of goodwill at a time. Because you don't rebuild a marriage by solving every single problem all at once. And honestly, you don't even start by solving the problem. You start by creating just enough connection, just enough safety again, that you both believe that you can solve these things together going forward. That's where we start. And if that's what you want help with, that's what I talk about on this channel all the time. So stick around, subscribe if you haven't already, like this video so that other couples like you can find it and get to the next place in their relationship. That's all this channel is about. Real talk, real marriages, real time. I'll see you in the next one.